final father of personalities. God the Supreme may not be a demonstration of the time-space omnipresence of deity, but he is literally a manifestation of divine ubiquity. Between the spiritual presence of the Creator and the material manifestations of creation, there exists a vast domain of the ubiquitous becoming, the universe emergence of evolutionary deity. If God the Supreme ever assumes direct control of the universes of time and space, we are confident such a deity administration will function under the over-control of the Ultimate. In such an event, God the Ultimate would begin to become manifest to the universes of time as the transcendental Almighty, the Omnipotent, exercising the over-control of super-time and transcended space concerning the administrative functions of the Almighty Supreme. The mortal mind may ask, even as we do, if the evolution of God the Supreme to administrative authority in the grand universe is attended by augmented manifestations of God the Ultimate, will a corresponding emergence of God the Ultimate in the postulated universes of outer space be attended by similar and enhanced revelations of God the Absolute? But we really do not know. 3. Time-space relationships. Only by ubiquity could deity unify time-space manifestations to the finite conception, for time is a succession of instants, while space is a system of associated points. You do, after all, perceive time by analysis and space by synthesis. You coordinate and associate these two dissimilar conceptions by the integrating insight of personality. Of all the animal world, only man possesses this time-space perceptibility. To an animal, motion has a meaning, but motion exhibits value only to a creature of personality status. Things are time-conditioned, but truth is time understand, and of the future you can comprehend. Truth is inconcussible, forever exempt from all transient vicissitudes, albeit never dead and formal, always vibrant and adaptable, radiantly alive. But when truth becomes linked with fact, then both time and space condition its meanings and correlate its values. Such realities of truth wedded to fact become concepts and are accordingly relegated to the domain of relative cosmic realities. The linking of the absolute and eternal truth of the Creator with the factual experience of the finite and temporal creature eventuates a new and emerging value of the Supreme. The concept of the Supreme is essential to the coordination of the divine and unchanging overworld with the finite and ever-changing underworld. Space comes the nearest of all non-absolute things to being absolute. Space is apparently absolutely ultimate. The real difficulty we have in understanding space on the material level is due to the fact that, while material bodies exist in space, space also exists in these same material bodies. While there is much about space that is absolute, that does not mean that space is absolute. It may help to an understanding of space relationships if you would conjecture that, relatively speaking, space is, after all, a property of all material bodies. Hence, when a body moves through space, it also takes all its properties with it, even the space which is in and of such a moving body. All patterns of reality occupy space on the material levels, but spirit patterns only exist in relation to space. They do not occupy or displace space, neither do they contain it. But to us the master riddle of space pertains to the pattern of an idea. When we enter the mind domain, we encounter many a puzzle. Does the pattern, the reality of an idea, occupy space? We really do not know, albeit we are sure that an idea pattern does not contain space. But it would hardly be safe to postulate that the immaterial is always non-spatial. 4. Primary and secondary causation. Many of the theologic difficulties and the metaphysical dilemmas of mortal man are due to man's mislocation of deity personality and consequent assignment of infinite and absolute attributes to subordinate divinity and to evolutionary deity. You must not forget that, while there is indeed a true first cause, there are also a host of coordinate and subordinate causes, both associate and secondary causes. The vital distinction between first causes and second causes is that first causes produce original effects which are free from inheritance of any factor derived from any antecedent causation. Secondary causes yield effects which invariably exhibit inheritance from other and preceding causation. The purely static potentials inherent in the unqualified absolute are reactive to those causations of the deity absolute which are produced by the actions of the Paradise Trinity. In the presence of the universal absolute, these causative impregnated static potentials forthwith become active and responsive to the influence of certain transcendental agencies whose actions result in the transmutation of these activated potentials to the status of true universe possibilities for development, actualized capacities for growth. It is upon such matured potentials that the creators and controllers of the grand universe enact the never-ending drama of cosmic evolution. Causation, disregarding existentials, is threefold in its basic constitution. As it operates in this universe age and concerning the finite level of the seven superuniverses, it may be conceived as follows. 1. Activation of static potentials. The establishment of destiny in the universal absolute by the actions of the deity absolute, operating in and upon the unqualified absolute, and in consequence of the volitional mandates of the Paradise Trinity. 2. Eventuation of universe capacities. This involves the transformation of undifferentiated potentials into segregated and defined plans. This is the act of the ultimacy of deity and of the manifold agencies of the transcendental level. Such acts are in perfect anticipation of the future needs of the entire Master Universe. It is in connection with the segregation of potentials that the architects of the Master Universe exist as the veritable embodiments of the deity concept of the universes. Their plans appear to be ultimately space-limited in extent by the concept periphery of the Master Universe, but as plans, they are not otherwise conditioned by time or space. 3. Creation and evolution of universe actuals. It is upon a cosmos impregnated by the capacity-producing presence of the ultimacy of deity that the supreme creators operate to effect the time transmutations of matured potentials into experiential actuals. Within the Master Universe, all actualization of potential reality is limited by ultimate capacity for development and is time-space conditioned in the final stages of emergence. The Creator Sons going out from Paradise are, in actuality, transformative creators in the cosmic sense, but this in no manner invalidates man's concept of them as creators. From the finite viewpoint, they certainly can and do create. 5. Omnipotence and compossibility. The omnipotence of deity does not imply the power to do the non-doable. Within the time-space frame and from the intellectual reference point of mortal comprehension, even the infinite God cannot create square circles or produce evil that is inherently good. God cannot do the ungodlike thing. Such a contradiction of philosophic terms is the equivalent of non-entity and implies that nothing is thus created. A personality trait cannot at the same time be godlike and ungodlike. Compossibility is innate in divine power, and all of this is derived from the fact that omnipotence not only creates things with a nature, but also gives origin to the nature of all things and beings. In the beginning, the Father does all. But as the panorama of eternity unfolds in response to the will and mandates of the infinite, it becomes increasingly apparent that creatures, even men, are to become God's partners in the realization of finality of destiny. And this is true even in the life in the flesh. When man and God enter into a partnership, no limitation can be placed